Morning talk here on SAFM 104 to 107, and it's time for Property Matters with Dineo Molomo, Dineo of Dineo Properties. Ask Dineo at dineoproperties.co.za, at Dineo Properties. That's the Facebook and Twitter handle as well. Dineo, good morning.
Very good morning, Bongi. Thank you so much.
It's a Monday. How are you doing?
It is a Monday, isn't it? A
right.
Monday after my birthday. So,
is it?
Yes. You know, I make it known to everybody because it's August. It lasts the entire month, guys. So don't feel ashamed to say happy birthday every day.
Happy birthday.
I'm that type, yes.
Okay, quickly, let me leave it to you because you have guests in studio.
Yes.
And you're discussing serious issues.
Serious but fun.
It's all yours there.
I'll start with last week was South African Institute for Black Property Practitioners Convention 2017. Now, this takes place on an annual basis, and this year was no different, except for the fact that it's growing, it's getting better. And we have our guests in the studio. We have the CEO of SAIBIP, and that's Vuiswa Muchekwade. Thank you so much for coming through.
Morning, Dineo. Good to be back.
And we have Mashilo Pijeng, who is CEO of Tsibo Real. Yes, I thought I had it all in my head.
Real Asset Management.
Thanks so much for coming through as well.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let's start with you, Vuiswa. Before I'm going to introduce her just now, Libone. Let's start with you quickly in terms of the success. I cannot but just feel proud at seeing SAIBIP come up after many years. You know, you're climbing this ladder. You're looking very good. You're shining. I'm seeing that extra star getting to past 5-star. That event was out of this world. So a big congratulations to you. Take us through what it is the theme was and what were you aiming to achieve?
Well, firstly, thank you, Dineo, for the kind words. And I think that it really was a very successful conference. Many of the attendees, the delegates, and people who are also watching from social media can attest to the fact that it was very successful. It was very well publicized. You know, we trended on Twitter for half of the day that it was on. So, you know, people were very interested in the content. I think definitely the highlight for me was the richness of the content. We had some really great speakers who were able to weigh in on some of the key topics that we were looking to address this year. The overarching theme of the conference was possibilities. And, you know, we left it quite broad, but we also had very specific themes that we wanted to tackle. One of the key things we wanted to tackle was enterprise development. And, you know, just given the changes currently with the new charter codes, the new sector codes, and the possibilities around enterprise development and where enterprise development has come from and where it's going, you know, was something we really wanted to look at. Because for us, a big part of transforming the sector is creating an enabling environment for new entrants. So really that was to discuss, is that happening? If not, what needs to happen? Another very important panel that took place, which featured the former mayor and current president of Salga, Mr. Park Stow, as well as, representative from the SA Cities Network, Ms. Gesi Karuri Sebina, Professor Samazasu from university, and Mr. Tsepo Kobe from the Gautrain, was around real estate and infrastructure development as a catalyst of economic growth. So really that was, you know, looking at us as a sector and the role that we have to play in not just transforming the sector economically, but also transforming the economy and stimulating and catalyzing growth within the economy. And there we touched on matters of spatial transformation, economic transformation, and just the role, as I said, that we as an industry have to play. There were a number of other really great speakers. I mean, we had COJ, as in Joburg Property Company, which they presented on their land strategy. And it's also just so important to recognize the importance and relevance of the local government, and particularly in our case, City of Joburg, as one of the key land and property holders, you know, in South Africa and as well in the province. And I'm sure everyone will agree, Professor Francois Verily from UCT, very engaging as usual, talking to us about trends in the commercial property sector, talking about the 40-40-40 principle, and speaking about the housing trends and really just super rich content. So I think by and large, you know, we managed to, and obviously you can't get through everything in a day. And I think that's what people also need to recognize, that the conference is an annual event, but the point of the conference is to spark certain discussions that will then continue throughout the course of the year or the next 2 years, however long they take, and not just be discussions. We want to eventually take these discussions and convert them into implementable programs and measurable programs that we can say, this is what we tabled, this is what we set out to achieve. And, next year when we arrive at this point, we want to be able to report back to our members and to the delegates and say, these were the outcomes of what we had set out to achieve.
So putting talk into reality, we did announce the challenge right there, in the sense that we are going to put it into reality by bringing that one panel that was discussing enterprise and skills development, particularly the key shifts and the considerations and impacts into the property industry overall. And this is the one time that I want to introduce then the other lady, and it is August month, guys. It's Women's Month. Sorry, Mashilo, you're a little outnumbered. We are totally celebrating women here and what we're about. So the other lady in the room is Libone Nkumeleng. Thank you so much for also making the time. And from the discussion that we had, you are from Growth Point, and you are talking to us about the realities of what Growth Point has been able to bring into the realities of the industry itself. What did you find interesting for yourself for this industry?
Great. Thank you, Dineo, for having us. Thanks for also extending the invitation for Growth Point to tell everybody else out there what we focus on as part of our enterprise and supply development program. We have Property Point, which is the program that we run as a 2-year incubation, working with a number of businesses. And in as much as we have realized successes to date, such as unlocking market opportunities for small businesses worth over 700 million rands, and also creating over 1,600 jobs over the 9 years that we've worked with these businesses, the one thing that I say stood out for me as part of the discussions we had at the conference is, how do we really make meaningful change as property players? And most importantly is, how do we then establish key relationships with other institutions to create those linkages to enable skills development, particularly within the sector, where we have then identified that there is a true gap in establishing a pipeline of property professionals and engaging them in jobs that will be sustainable in the future. But over and above that is, how are these small businesses that we are working with attaining the correct skills, and how is that a ripple effect within the sector? So, and I really, I was quite intrigued by Mashilo's comment at the conference to say, are we really being transformational? And that is a key issue. We can speak broadly about transformation as a BE scorecard, but transformation is beyond a tick box approach on the scorecard, and which is the approach that Growth Point adopts when it comes to transformation, particularly within the small business sector. And to also add into that, we see ourselves as an enabling environment. We focus on saying, how do we then work with other property companies in order to unlock market value for the small businesses by giving them the opportunity to then plug back into the various supply chains. And we're proud to say, for the 36 businesses that we have worked with, they have been sustainably plugged back into Growth Point supply chain and over and above all the other sectors' supply chains, which enables them to then grow sustainably over a period of time, and giving them the financial muscle to then access other, for example, assets in the property, which is a key topical area at this point in time, is how do you enable small businesses to actually acquire assets for them to be key players within the industry?
Mashilo, the realities of small business versus skills development versus tertiary education, and the realities of them being able to hold down those businesses to head towards success of any kind. Do you think we're heading the right direction?
Look, we must, and I must say, because we are not going to be here on the 9th, happy Women's Day.
Thank you.
For the 9th, and happy birthday, Dineo.
Thank you.
Belated. I must say, look, the issue of transformation, I think, and I agree with Lewa around, it should not be about the scorecard. But there are certain dynamics. If you remember in the speech that I was giving at the conference, I said, you need to deal with issues of structure before you can say, I'm achieving something. Because if you don't deal with the foundation, no matter what house you build, if it does not conform to the foundation, or you have not built the foundation, it's not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to be able to, what's the foundation we're trying to build, right? So there's certain things that stands out. And those things stands out because I've been fortunate enough to participate in the formation of the current scorecard and the previous scorecard, sector scorecard. And there were certain things that, although there are pockets of excellence that we need to sort out. One of those is we need to deal with issues of absorption. If we count the number of bursaries over, we can take 10 years, we can take 20 years, we can take 5 years that have been issued by this industry. The question still remains, what happened to those people after we've dished out money at them? Understand? Is to say, how do we absorb both in terms of the enterprises or the entrepreneurs and the students that we put money to say, how as an industry collectively we absorb everybody else. Second is an issue of graduation, which is progression. How does a person who enters this industry as a student or as an SMME or as a new entrant progress from where they are to a certain extent that we can say 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, we can point a finger and says, that is Mashilo. He started at point A, now he's at point B.
All right. And I want us to go into detail to that because we need to take a quick break. We'll come back just now.
Be the first to get all the news and gossip on film, fashion, music, entertainment, and breaking stories at home as well as from around the world. Join Kanye Mbao and get The Scoop. Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on SABC3. The stage is yours. Breaking barriers and